Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Careerstalk. My name is Nan Sharma. I'm an agile consultant based in Netherlands, and we have started this new series where we are talking to professional Scrum trainer PSTs from around the world. And today we are going to discuss the most commonly asked product owner interview questions shared by our WhatsApp group members who recently interviewed with various companies like IBM, Cognizant, TCS, Deloitte, and many more. And to help us, we have Matthews with us, a professional Scrum trainer joining us all the way from Brazil. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel Careerstalk. And if you find this content helpful, please smash that like button. So now, without further delay, let's get started. Welcome, Matthews, and yeah, thank you for joining us today. Matthews, over to you.
Thank you, Sunan. I'm very glad to be here. It's my pleasure to share my some of my experience and the difference about the PST, the professional and the theoretical and like things that like that people ask me about my theoretical experience and the practical experience. How does it happen? So my pleasure.
So could you please tell us a bit about yourself quickly, just for our audience?
Well, so I'm a PST, which means, yeah, I'm from Scrum.org, and I do the trainings and I have all the certifications. And from my experience, I've worked as a product owner, as an agile coach. Right now, I'm a product manager in different contexts. I worked to big companies trying to implement databases and I also did consulting for multiple companies like Martex and stuff like that. And well, I'm a Brazilian, as you said. I'm Brazilian, so I really love soccer here, and I have a nice dog that is kind of my son. I love pets. So a little bit about myself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that, Matthews. Okay, so if you allow, shall we start?
Just
Okay, so here comes the first question. So let's say your company is moving from a traditional way of working
Mhm.
to Scrum. So how would you prepare your team, your leaders, your stakeholders for this change? Changes are always difficult. So what kind of challenges which you have might have faced, which you are going to overcome, and what kind of strategies would you going to employ with all this? So if you can share your experience, that will be great. Yeah, over to you, Matthew.
Oh, thank you. So basically, in the transitional that I've worked with, and I've some that I did not work with, but someone was implementing, and I was seeing from the outside. I saw that people normally just try to put all the agile terms at once, right? So basically, the people try to implement agile, but working as a big bang project. So let's now Matthews, you are not anymore the project manager. You are the product owner, and that's it. You are starting working with Scrum. From my experience that I saw and didn't work well. Basically, in the process that I did, it's then something that is very important is to understand the internal process of the company. Some consultants and some coaches try to just implement Scrum, implement Agile without understanding the importance of the process, the importance of the responsibility and names of the organization. For some people, for me to transition, and I'm not a technology manager anymore. Right now, I am a product owner. That could be could really be something bad for the person. Like they want to be called a technology manager. They do not want to be called the product owner. Some names really are important for people. The areas that they are working are important for them. So I would say understand the internal process of the company, understand how people feel about Scrum, and actually do explain to them what is Scrum, what is the method that you are implementing right now, so they understand really the importance of what they are doing. And then job description is something, and the responsibility is something different. We can work with that if it the name of the job is really important for the people. And also, do not do it in a big bang process, right? Let's try to iterate. So let's not make a very big transition to waterfall and to the whole company. Let's try to one small area. Let's understand how it works for this area, and later we can implement in small iterations. So basically, that would be some stuff that I've been through, and I've learned that this process and this change management process is very important for us to take. Okay, basically it's that.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Matthew, for sharing that with all of us. Okay, so let's move on to our next question. So let's say you're one of your key stakeholder. They want to prioritize a backlog item which you think is not that important or that not necessary for a time being. So how you are going to manage this kind of situation? How you are going to manage these kind of stakeholders while you have to maintain a good relationship with them. And you have to, yeah, respect the Scrum processes and things like that. So it's a tricky situation, but I'm sure that you might have faced these kind
Mhm,
of issues,
mhm,
because you yourself is a product
mhm.
owner
Yeah.
and product manager. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all pass it through that, right? Like a few stakeholders or a lot of stakeholders asking you for a lot of things, and they do not have any data about what they are doing, or they do, but they don't know. And you, as a product owner, product manager, you don't have the transparency of your product backlog to them. So normally in those cases, when a stakeholder want me to prioritize something that I cannot, like I have a lot of other things for me, I normally go like, let's schedule a meeting so I can refine and understand a little bit about your situation here. I schedule the meeting, and then I really, really, of course, understand his needs here, her needs, of course. But later after that, I try to clarify to the person that I have a lot of other things to do that are I have data and they are important, and how they would help this stakeholder, or basically, if not helping they stakeholder directly, this stakeholder, the company, the other stakeholders that I can do. Okay. And for that, also, if the stakeholder sometimes is too far from the team, I really like, and it's very important to ask him to join the sprint review, right? So he can talk with other stakeholders and understand the real situation of the product backlog and the roadmap. Uh, Sometimes it works. Sometimes the stakeholders a little bit mad with us, but that's some tough situations that a product owner have to face. But if the stakeholder is very comprehensive and you have data and you have security of what you are doing, it will be much easier to convince him about your product backlog, right? I would say that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's move on to our next question, which is on technical debt. So let's say you get constant feedback about the technical debt from your team, but also you need to deliver new feature. So it's a very tricky situation for a product owner perspective. So how do you empathize with your developers while you have to meet your business needs? So yeah, if you can share some insight, that will be great.
Yeah, good. Uh, Technical debt, everyone has it. There is no place, no product that I work with that does not have any technical debt. There is no perfect product, right? But if it's interfering in the team's work, uh, we must address it and understand how valuable are the product, the technical debt, and how it like takes value away from our customer is and how much it could influence other metrics that we have. Normally, technical debt will impact directly on our throughput or the cycle time, right? So I would do basically prior. I like to do like doing the retro or and technical refinement with the team to understand what are the technical deficits we have what are the ones that are taking away most value from us, and to prioritize with them. Of course, we have one product backlog for one product. That's basic. So we must address the technical debt, just any other work that we have during the sprint. Normally, I like to use Jira or ClickUp or any other tool that you use in your daily basis. But I do like to tag my technical debt. So I will have metrics from the next 1 month or 2 months or 3 months and so on for next sprints. So I can understand a little bit about how much I am spending on technical debt and how much I am spending on new features. And of course, planning that. It's important for us to prioritize it, make it clear, put the technical debt into the roadmap so everyone is aligned that we are working on technical debt and how it will generate value. It normally technical debt generates value for us or will not take value from to us in a long term. It's not a short term thing, right? So I would like to do those few steps, but one short description would be let's put into the backlog and prioritize and each other iteration that we have. Let's work on that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Matheus, for that. Okay, so let's move on to the next question, which is on product backlog. So let's say you have joined one of the project, and the product backlog is full of old and outdated items. So how you are going to manage this backlog, and you have to keep it relevant for the current sprint. So yeah, I mean, we have seen these kind of issues when, when the new product owner will join some project, and it's a tricky situation. You cannot say anything to the other product owner who is just leaving their organization, and you have to manage this mess. So
Mhm.
how you are going to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has those features that are in your backlog, your spreadsheet, your Jira, your anything, and they are like 6 months there and 1 year there, and like, is everyone asking me for it? Like really, if something it's into your product backlog for 6 months, 1 year, and nobody complains, nobody asks you for that, why is it in there? Like, is it really relevant? Is really important? Or maybe from like 6 months ago, it was a good idea. Right now, we changed a lot our product. We did many iterations. So if it's there for 6 months, nobody talks about it. What's the problem about? Just delete it from your product backlog. If it's important, somebody will ask you for the feature, or you will understand the urgent and importance of the feature. So some of the features that we have, we do not have to be uh, very attached to them, right? If it's there for too long, just delete it. Nobody's asking you for that. Change probably happen during this time. Okay, that's basically it.
Yeah, sorry, I have to just unmute myself. So it just takes some time. Okay, great. So yeah, let's move on to our next question, which is on product goals. So let's say during your sprint planning, your team is
Hmm.
unclear about the product goal and the roadmap. So how you will ensure that team is aligned with clear and achievable goal? You know, sometimes
Hmm.
some new team member join, and then again they struggle to understand that what this product is all about. So how you handle or how you clarify those things to your
Hmm.
team? Yeah.
Okay. So, when I think about product goal, there is no way I cannot think about the product owner. Like, if we are talking about the product management, we must understand that first, w- the product, the product vision, the product goal comes from the product vision, and the product vision comes normally from the business plan that we have. Everything is aligned. So when we talk that the product goal is not really clear, it means that I might lack a product vision, or I might not be transmitting the product vision correct. There is some canvas, like the product vision canvas is something that really helps for me to align what my product does, like who am I attending and why it generates value, right? So it's one really vision. It's very short. It's very easy to implement. You can put like in a mural, or if you are in the office, just put it over the wall. Because with the product vision, you can correlate it and understand the product goal. So let's say that we have an e-commerce, and the vision of the e-commerce, I'm Brazilian, but I want to work in Europe, let's say. So I have an e-commerce, and the vision for my product is to sell in Europe. So what will be the small goals that I have in order for me to achieve my vision, which is to attend Europeans? So maybe my next goal would be to translate my e-commerce and to start working with Portugal, which is like everything Portuguese here, Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. And then I can have, like, I always think about the product goal is one step nearby my product, my vision, right? And I can do that. And also my roadmap. What's the best way for me to translate those kinds of relation between my sprint goals and my product goals? Is through my product roadmap. My product roadmap is my tactical vision directly to my product goal. So basically, there's a lot of things here for me to work with my team, but I will start with having a clear product vision in translating that to my team. Okay, so little bit.
Yeah, great. Matthew, if you allow, I just want to add a small thing over here. So
Mm-hmm,
let's say as a product owner, I would, as you also mentioned, right, that I will explain the product goal. Let's
mm-hmm,
say I'll take you one example. Let's say I want to increase user retention by 10% over the next quarter. Now, the
mm-hmm,
roadmap include the milestones. For example, implementing detailed transaction filters, or let's say provide some downloadable statements and some push notification and things like that. Now
mm-hmm.
we will link this with our sprint goals. So I showed that how the current sprint was focused on building the first part of this roadmap. So let's say enabling the user to filter some transaction by amount or date and category. And I would also highlight that how this particular feature would make it easier for user to manage their finance and encourage them to use this particular app, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
with this we can have that kind of discussion with our developers, right? The developers
Yes.
shared concerns about, maybe that some task seems to be unrelated to the sprint goal, maybe. Then those kind of questions we have to take, and we have to
Mm-hmm.
uh, clarify their doubts sometimes. And I think the best time is we can do that, of course, in the sprint planning, but during the refining the backlog. So we can maybe the
Yeah.
adjust the sprint backlog to ensure that all the items directly supported our sprint goal. So in that way
Mm-hmm.
they will have that kind of clarity that okay, why they are doing this. And that's something I think which is important to tie their sprint goal with the product goal. So they keep on
Yeah.
okay, we have to achieve the sprint goal, because but then the larger goal is to achieve the product goal, right? So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's something I just want to add. Yeah.
No, very, very good. Yeah, and it's one product, right? Everything must be tied down. So everything
Correct.
must be like relation, and it's a very high performance thing that understands that everything is tied up and how is it tied up because it's complex, of course.
True,
Mm.
true. Okay, wonderful. So let's move on to our next question. And the next question is, let's say your team is concerned that the user stories are too detailed, which let's say you provide as a product owner, and that's stopping them, or that's hindering their ability to innovate. They're not
Mhm.
thinking about any other solution. So how do you balance providing the clarity while allowing some room for some creative solutions and things like that from the team part? So yeah.
Nice. Nope. So I really like user stories, but I don't do them. It's like kind of funny. I really like about what the user stories are about. The three C's, right? We will have a card, we will have a conversation, and we must have the confirmation that everything is like aligned here. So I work with the three C's of the product owner, right? Those three C's I like to refine with the team, because the most important thing about user stories is not the documentation, it's the interaction with the team. Like talking with the team is very important for us to confirm it. And I've seen, and I'm not a technical product owner, but we do see that some technical product owners, they are they just, instead of putting the problem of the that we are facing, they already provide the solution for the team, and that could be really something that will hinder the ability to innovate, of course. So normally I would say, first thing is you already have the feedback from the team that you are hindering their ability to innovate. Work with that. Like if you are working with user stories, basically you only have a card. So the card should not be very detailed. Let the team ask you. Try to ask like broader questions in order to for them to provide the solution instead of you providing the solution for them, and make it really a conversation. Refinement is a conversation. That's why I like really to do planning poker, because it's really a lot of people talking and refining about the best solution there. So and that's really something. And sometimes the product owner is really technical and really likes to understand it, but let's make space for the team. They are the developers. They should be the ones that have the best solutions, and talk about the solution that they have. Ask them why they are providing the different solutions about it. No, basically, that's why I really like user stories and three season. What would I do?
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Matthews, for that. Wonderful. Let's move on to our next question. So let's say you are the sprint is going on and you receive a new set of requests during your ongoing sprint from different stakeholders. So how do you decide whether to incorporate these changes or defer them to the next iteration? Do you use some, I don't know, like some kind of prioritization technique or something like that? What you are going to do if, let's say,
Mhm.
a stakeholder just you know telling you
Oh,
to add these?
yeah. I mean, we have those stakeholders. Sometimes they do not even know the framework, like how do we work? And they really, for the stakeholder, is very important. They would just ask us to start like immediately that. So with that kind of stakeholders, I really like to explain the context. Like, look, we are working in an iteration process. We are working with sprints. That means that I plan in each 15 days, 33 weeks, or 1 month. And that means that I'm planning things, and I don't have problem on planning and changing. Like that's all about. If it's valuable, I'm okay with changing. But changing also make like very big amount of chaos. Let's say that we are working in 10 different things right now, and we will just delete all the 10 things and put different 10 things. That will be totally chaos for the team. So I like to explain the process for the stakeholders and really try to understand their urgency. Normally, it's not that urgent. Normally, they are asking us about something that they want. And once I explain the context, I understand, they understand the context, they understand urgency versus value versus dependencies that I already been already working on. they are they really understand about, and they like right now some of my stakeholders ask me about, okay, but when will be your next sprint planning, so we can talk just like in 1 or 2 days before that, and we can share a little bit about the things that we need. So with the stakeholder very aligned with you and understanding your process, I believe that will be very much easier for you to explain to them, and also do not make chaos into your team just to say okay to your stakeholder. That's something that will be really be bad for you and for the planning and complexity.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. Great. Thank you, Matthew, for that. Okay. So let's move on to our next question, which is on sprint review. So let's say after
Mhm.
your sprint review, your team have not received that kind of feedback which you are looking for. So you receive a feedback that your team's work did not align with the customer expectation. So how you're going to address these kind of challenges, discrepancies, and how you're going to improve your future, feedback loop. So yeah.
So the first thing is, why am I receiving the feedback after the sprint review? th- I really like the sprint reviews to have transparency there. So why the stakeholder did not have like the openness for me to talk about it into the sprint review? So it's it looks to me that the sprint review might be transforming into a demonstration of what's happening instead of collecting feedback. Because during the sprint review, I should collect the feedback from them. And it's very good for me because I will not be the bad guy to say to the developers that the stakeholders are not liking the product. No, it'll be directly from them. And we can have a conversation over there in order to understand like, okay, the product is not being very well accepted. What's happening? If the team understands the situation, they will understand a little bit more about, and they will be much more direct to the solutions that we are implementing, because they will remember the stakeholder telling them, I don't want this product, that's bad, we don't use it. So the team will understand it. So basically I would try to have this transparency during the sprint review. The stakeholders will be there, and if it's not possible, let's gather the stakeholders, collect their feedback, and make a conversation with stakeholders and team for us to understand what's not working.
Great, great. Absolutely. Okay. So
Mm.
let's move on to our next question quickly. So let's say your stakeholder, they keep on pushing some last minute changes that do not meet the definition of ready. So how you're going to manage these kind of issues where you have to maintain the Scrum integrity? Yeah, it's a tricky situation, but it happens sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's the urgency of the stakeholders for changing everything, right? And are we living in this chaos that you want to change everything, like all the times? I really I really like to communicate with the stakeholders. It's sometimes the stakeholder is not easy, or it is, but basically uh, their definition of ready, like it's not even though the Scrum Guide says that the items must be ready, it's not like really like theoretically definition of ready is not Scrum, and but the item must be ready. But if we are changing all the things all times, it probably means that the stakeholder didn't refine, or maybe he didn't really know what he wants, and it's changing all the time. Uh, First of all, there is no problem in changing, but it makes me think that the stakeholder lack of information, or maybe he lacks of validation if something is changing. So why can't we do a small piece of work in order for us to validate his idea, in order for us to validate what he's changing all the time in the last minute? Okay, so it's better it's agile word, but it's better for us to test it over have a very detailed documentation. And so I would basically bring more data, try to implement a small piece of the work that the stakeholder is trying to ask me, in order for us to help in the next iteration, for us to have a more clear vision of his needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, if I understood correctly, we should ask our stakeholder clarifying questions like, okay, what is the urgency of this feature, or how does this going to impact the product goal, things like that. And of course, we
Mhm.
should remind our stakeholder that Scrum relies on focus and commitment within a sprint, and last minute changes can disrupt the team's flow, and the it can also impact the quality. So maybe I would refer to the agreed definition of ready to them to explain that why the items cannot be included at this particular stage. And maybe I would also explain that change can be introduced during the sprint planning for the next sprint, uh, things like that. Or maybe we can offer some alternative, as you also mentioned, that maybe we can work with our team and we can assess the impact, and if required we could cancel the sprint and start a new one with stakeholder request included, if at all that much urgent or critical is there, right? But if it's less critical but still time
Mm.
sensitive, maybe we will propose adding it to the product backlog, and of course we can prioritize it for the next sprint. So yeah, I mean, that's, I think, yeah, I think you
Yeah.
also mentioned that. I'll just summarize it. Yeah,
No, no, yeah, and canceling the sprint is like something very traumatic for the team, right?
right.
It's like the product owner is the only one that can do that, but it's basically canceling the sprint is basically telling the team that all the work they did during the sprint worth zero. So it's very traumatic. So I will, that's something that I would some it
Very
happened
drastic, but
once.
then yeah,
Yeah, very desperate for them. Exactly.
correct. Okay, so thank you for this, and let's move on. Yeah, so next question is, let's say you are a kind of situation where your backlog have lot of ideas from teams, right? But then from team or from, let's say, different stakeholders, they keep on giving you some feedback and ideas and things like that. And of course, the single source of truth is our product backlog, so everything is there. Now you already have gathered a lot of ideas and they are not yet defined as a clear user stories or goals. So what step would you take to refine these items, so yeah.
Mm, so I have let me understand the question. So it means that I have a lot of ideas over there, but I did not understand their value right now, or like
Absolutely, or
everything
you don't have
is
time,
a
or yeah, things like that. Yeah.
everything is a big brainstorming right now. I have a lot of ideas, and well, uh, putting everything together in one place, one mural. I'm a visual person, so I like to put everything together in a mural, for example. And there is few process that we have, like do a linkception or a design thinking, like working with the double diamond and all those kinds of things that we can work with. But basically, if we have a lot of solution, if we have a lot of things that a lot of needs that we are doing. First of first of them will be prioritizing it. Like and like let's put everyone together in a team working with value, basically value and effort for us to do that. Like what's the most valuable thing and makes us less effort to do it. Why we are not doing that? Like s- less effort, a lot of value. Work on that. I like to work more on those kind of matrix for me. And once I understand basically I understand that I like to categorize things. So I understand like the bigger picture. So I have a lot of items being working on performance or a lot of items that the customer is needing about user experience or about my cash payment e-commerce. So those things help me to first of all understand my client's needs. And once I can prioritize the needs, I also open the second part of my double diamonds in design thinking, which is working on the solution. Like, okay, now I have a lot of needs. What are the solutions for the needs? And I will have again a bunch of things that I will also need to prioritize it. And after I have all those features, I really, really, really like to do the user story mapping because I can correlate all my features, all my solutions that I prioritize it together with the customer journey. So I understand in each part of the journey of my customer, the feature where it correlates in the journey of my client and customer. Okay. And basically that's all set for you to implement your roadmap, right? So you have the whole journey, the whole features, and you will have a product that you can make it like an end-to-end product with the features. You are not thinking only in one small piece of the journey. You are thinking about the journey as one big storyline with all the features below that using user story mapping. So that's something that been working for me during my when I have too many needs. I really like to gather all the information in the mural and make it through all the way through the till I get the user story mapping.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Let's move on to our next question. So, how do you ensure that your backlog is transparent to your team, to your stakeholders, and especially in a complex project with you have so many external dependencies, with each other teams and or different work
Hmm.
items. And is it transparency just mean that put everything on your Jira board, for example, and just give access to everyone? Does it mean transparency, or is it more than that? Yeah.
No, that's a very great question. Sometimes people just send the product backlog in an Excel sheet that they export from Jira and email to the stakeholder, right? The stakeholder normally asks like, "What am I receiving that? I normally don't know like 80% of the stuff over here." And yeah, and first of all, backlog changes all the time. It's a living artifact that we have. So if the stakeholder receives my backlog today, tomorrow it will be different. So like transparency here means, of course, having the information, but understanding the information is a very, very important part of it. And for me, what I've been working with, it's during the sprint review and during my refinements to show the roadmap. Like the roadmap is your backlog. It's part of your product backlog, right? So there is different kinds of roadmaps that you can be sharing roadmap of the next 3 or 4 sprints, or you can also be sharing your roadmap through quarters or through years, depending on the strategical level of your stakeholder. What do you want to communicate, right? So I really like to work with roadmaps. Normally, today's stakeholders are work nowadays. I do roadmaps of 2 or 3 months, like, and in this roadmap, I go into the level that I know that the stakeholder will understand. I will not make like very small pieces of work that it doesn't matter for the stakeholder if I'm creating an API or integrating a system. For my stakeholder, they want like a new dashboard already applied with this and that kind of information right now. So by working and sharing to them the roadmap, and I like to do that during the sprint review and explaining to them my vision during the sprint review. And after that, during the refinements, I'm always making those uh, those kind of features transparent to them, so to make a conversation about it. So basically, it's that. And Jira is just a feature that really help us prioritize things, but road mapping and communication are very good for the stakeholders. Many stakeholders don't even have access or don't even have interest in our Jiras, right?
True, true, very true. Yeah, thank you, Matthew, for that. So thank you, Matthews. And let's move on to our next question, and which is on matrices. So how do you measure the success of a product or a feature which you have launched? And maybe if you can share some of the key performance indicator, the KPIs which you track to ensure that your product deliver the value to the users. So yeah, Matthews, over to you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a very difficult things to do. Sometimes and I've seen a lot of product owners only working with metrics like throughput and work in progress and stuff like that that are not really related to the product. So we must keep in mind that the NPS is a metric, the Net Promoter Score is a very important metric. So the client can give really the feedback that you have. I also, and some metric that I really have in my portfolio, it's budgeting. Like, I mean, how much how much my clients are spending on my product? Normally I've worked with B2B products, right? So if the client, it's first of all, in my product, usually we have 1 year contract, which renovates all the years. Of course, I want the renovations to happen. If my client's not renovating, it's not putting it, it's not does not want to keep 1 more year with me, maybe I'm doing something wrong. So that's one metric that I have. The other metric that I have about new clients, like, am I reaching more clients? Am I expanding my product or not? So one metric that I really understand, and the metric is related to the product vision that I have because I really want to expand my product. So this kind of metrics really, and if you work with OKRs, it's very important because you have a clear objective, and from that objective, you have your key metrics to reach it. So for me, right now, it's new clients, turnovers that I have. Like, am I losing clients or not? That's a good thing. And also their feedback. NPS is one thing, and I really like to talk about with the clients. I really like be to participate in the interviews and understanding their needs and how they feel about my product. With that, I can have a more clear vision and I can understand a little bit more about the persona, who my client is, if he changed from 1 year to another.
Great, Matthews. Thank you for that. Wonderful. So I think we are good for today then. I think so. Thank you, Matthews, for joining us today. And thank you, friends, whoever watching this session so far. So thank you for joining. And we hope you found this session helpful and informative. And if you enjoyed the session, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And we hope to see you in our next session. Until then, take care. This is Sunan Sharma signing off along with Matthews. Bye-bye. And thank you, Matthew, one more time.
Bye bye, my pleasure.